All the developers will have only one folder where they can go and get these files. For example, to be very specific, if we go under SAP Business Objects Data Services, you see several folders here. Generally, we put it in bin. Bin is like the dustbin which can hold anything. No, not really. You can put it anywhere. I was just kidding. So here we have it in tutorial files. In the same way, you define a folder that can hold the data files, and that will be accessible because it is on the same job server. Currently, the situation is we have the server, we have it as a job server, we have it as our data services client computer also, so it is local to us. Or else your administrator will provide you this path, he will provide you the file name, or you will be given access to the job server to that particular folder. You go there and get it. You always can run a command from your command prompt to connect to the server. I mean, if you give a double slash and give the computer name, like this, you can connect to any of the system and you should be able to access the particular folder they have given, and you can read the structure of it.
Okay. You get me? So let me ask you the other question. You mentioned the file name as name location.txt, okay?
Correct.
But let's say they are placing the file and the file name is going to keep changing.
Yes, so that will come in the next point. That will be, just hold your breath for 5 minutes, you will see that how to make it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll cover that. So right now, I just defined a flat file, guys. I know there would be several concerns. So far, we have only defined the flat file. We are going to make it as a dynamic flat file. You can name it as you wish. You can give it, you can parameterize it, and in the runtime, you can give the flat file name. Everything is possible. I will show you all. So I have a flat file as a source. I have defined it. Now, if you see, I have a data flow here. I want one more data flow. I'm putting it as df underscore legacy underscore location. In general, we were giving a naming convention for each job, so I just put it as job 100 so that it is easy to communicate. Let me get into this data flow. In the data flow, I pull the same flat file definition which I have created, make it as a source. So after you make it as a source, you have to load it into your target environment, which is data staging environment. Forget about going into data warehouse now. We are still in the kitchen stadium. Now you are learning how to handle the sharp knives only. Don't try to go into the target and then transform everything. No. We are not loading into the DS target database. We are loading into the DS staging database. Because it is one environment, you are able to see everything in the same schema. So don't worry about it. There are 3 different schemas, and we are going to restrict access properly because the roles are not managed at the database level, because I am not a database administrator, but I do a lot of work on database. So we'll try to fix it a little later. If you are seeing a different table in a different data store that we define, don't worry about it. But your set of tables you are all aware of. So the target is always a template table. In general, it should have been tedious work if you have to go and write an DDL in the database, build a table, and then come and use it here. So data services came up with a concept of template tables. You can do it here itself. So as the naming convention stands, I'm doing it as stg underscore name underscore loc. It is the stage table name. Then connect it. So in the query transform, as you already learned, all you are doing is get this, right click, I mean you can drag and drop, or right click and say map to output. Good. Now we have given the same source structure. But the flavor is always we add a couple of more columns so that we know what data we extracted from where. Or else you'll be lost. You don't know when a job has run and what is the time the data is loaded. You never know about it. So we always put source name. These are like the default columns, or good to have columns in your staging environment. So source name, I will keep it 20, and the description I can give, or I can give the content type. Don't worry about the content type. You'll come to know when you work with the DQ transforms, this is not required for anything else. It is only for the data quality. So source name, I'm going to hard code it as flat file. And one more column I wanted to define as extract date. Guys, I'm really going at a slow pace in the initial days. The reason is you can't understand if I show advanced things. When we go into SAP data migration world, it is going to be all advanced. So please practice this, whatever I'm showing. Why am I going at a very slow pace? Without having these basics, we cannot finally go into a data migration environment, because there everything is pre-built. You have to understand what they try to do. And there, if you feel these are all Greek and Latin, it's not going to work for us. Because at that time, we are not going to spend time explaining each transform. By the time, you should be aware of all these transforms. So please practice a little bit. These are very basic transforms, and it does not take too long to work on it. So now it has been completed. I have built a data flow that can extract data from a flat file and load it into a staging area. Let me validate the job. You see, there is an error. What is the error? It says parallel execution of sequential flows is not allowed. The same thing, if you remember, last week, Anudeep asked me a question. I don't know if he's there on call today. Yeah, he is. Okay, wonderful. So, why we, and there will be the same question from any one of you. Why do we require workflows? I'm able to do a data flow under it. Why I require? It is nothing else than you have a carton. Though you have small books, you cannot load the truck with the same books all at a time individually. So you are going to bucket it into a different carton. Okay, these are like movie related books. These are science related books. So you are bucketing them because you want things to happen in parallel. You want to understand what a data flow is doing what. So in this situation, you want to run in parallel, you need to create a workflow. If you don't want to run in parallel, you say, I want to run in sequence. That is fine. Then connect it here. We will see how we can make it in a different way. But currently, let us assume I want to run in parallel. Sequence. So you connect it here. Now you validate it. There is no more errors. Warnings, they are okay. They are just the conversion warnings. You don't need to worry about it. We will come to that a little later, how to fix these warnings. We can fix several of them. Let me run the job. All your questions will be then answered. So if you see here, job server or server group, this is the same job server where the file is located, which means it is there on the same computer. I have created a job server virtually on the same computer. At one day, at the end of the session, like the 40th hour, you'll be shown how to create a job server, how to configure it and all. Don't worry about that. Currently, just use the whatever is existing. You'll learn how to create all this. Because first you'll have to, because always no one wants the complete process. First they wanted to see the results. So the results which we are looking at is the data which we are moving from source to target. The basic aim of an ETL tool will be achieved there. Okay, now see it. Now you have to understand one thing in the log. When I connected them in sequence, the time taken is a little longer. Let us just look at the time. How long the job executes. So if you see, the absolute time is like 6 seconds. 6 seconds is a very small time because the data is very small here. But what I wonder is, do we have only 5 records in mean, I'm not 100% sure why it put, okay, I looked at the wrong log. No, that's not the one. The latest log is this one. So you can go and monitor, you can look at the log that is being executed, and the time taken here, if you see, is like 8.5 seconds kind of. And you see there are 9 records coming here, 5 records coming from our source extract from the customer data, because we had a filter. That's fine. But can we make this better? I mean, there is no dependency between these two tables. They can run in parallel. Why not? It is more like chewing the gum while working. Both we can do in parallel. So let me put a workflow here. Workflow underscore the same 100 underscore, I call it legacy data. This is one placeholder we have put. So I take these data flows. The 4.0 version even made the developer really lazy. Earlier, at least, you need to remove it from here, and then go back into your object library here. In the object library, drag and drop it again. But people are so fancy. They requested SAP. I want to do the same Control-V, Control-C command, how I do it in Windows. Yes, they have given you the option. You do a cut and paste. Wherever you want to paste, you can do it. That works. And connect the workflow here. Perfecto. Now, if you see, these jobs need not be in sequence. These data flows can run in parallel, which is performance-wise good. And when there is no dependency, why do you need to? It is more like you are asking 2 U-Haul trucks come one by one behind each other. You have enough space in the road. They can really go parallel and then reach the destination easily. So you want to work in that way to be of the highest of the performance and make use of the trucks properly. Okay. So now we run the job. We'll just see the statistics. It may make 1 or 2 seconds difference because the volume of data is only 10 records here. But we are trying to simulate and see how it works in the real-time world. As you have to have these things in parallel. You see, amazing. It worked in 4 seconds. It reduced half the amount of time. So always doing work with the left hand and the right hand, both hands at a time, is more powerful. I mean, you are using your time and resources properly than doing one by one. So it is always good to have things in parallel, and sometimes that doesn't work. You have to have them in sequence. Yes, you can build one more workflow where you can have half of the things in parallel, half of the things in serial. So what I mean to say is, once you define this data flows, we are good. Then we try to build one more workflow inside it. Yes, it is permitted. Inside the workflow, you can do any magic you want. That is not the point of discussion for now. Anyhow, here I named it as a legacy data, but I named the job as the customer. That's okay still, but if I wanted to rename, I can always rename it to the legacy data itself. But let that be there, because the data we got from the location is also customer related data. So we are okay. Though they relate to each other or not, that is fine. So you have the full job now. Now let me answer our Arvind's question. He has a good point. In the real-time world, you cannot ask them to give really binding name, and they say the path will change on the job server when you go into QA or in production. How would we handle it? As I mentioned, guys, here is one of the important things which you have to understand. The left-hand side, whatever you see in the object library, is just a definition. Whereas here is the one where you can have more than one files with the same structure. What I mean to say is, now you will see it. The same name location, let me copy and replicate it. This is how in the real-time world, they will give you 10 files. Each file can come from a different source system. And they may appear at a different time. They may have a little different name. They can have a timestamp. There's several possibilities in the real world. So what we will do is, I will say name location underscore the timestamp. I'm just giving a timestamp for the namesake. The reality is the timestamp would be taken from the system date and time when they put it. Their program does it. They are not going to do it manually. So here I'm just giving a timestamp of 06/28/2012. And then I just rename the other one, and I'm giving it similar date 06/28/2012, and I'm giving also the hour. The hour I will say as 12th hour, just for the namesake, guys, to show them they are different files. You see here, I can give this as a first hour if you want. I mean, there can be a little bit confusion because the number is ending with 12 itself. So this is the first hour and this is the 12th hour. We have now 3 files. You see the magic when you come here. It is in the same source folder, the same path. But how we make this one as a dynamic? So what is common in the file is name location is common. If I put a star here, if I put a star, it is a wild character. When you make it as a wild character, it will go and read all the 3 files. That is my assumption. So dot text is good. Let it be there. Now what we are trying to demonstrate is only that a single definition can have more than one file. That is what we are trying to demonstrate. We have not yet come of making it a dynamic name, dynamic path. We will come to that in a bit. Just hold your breath. A couple of moments, you'll see that. Now I'm executing it. When you execute it, you have to see duplicates now. Instead of 9 records that we loaded earlier, you have to see 27 records. If 27 records appear here, we are good. You see here, it is 27. So I'm not a liar. I am not a liar here. So you see the 27 records, but they are duplicates. That is fine. This is just for the demonstration purpose. Now your question will be answered. How we make it dynamic? So if you remember last class, I have already demonstrated your concept of global variables. So go to your tools, look at your variables. We have defined one variable as G legacy source. In the same way, let me define a couple of more global variables. So far you follow, guys, whatever we are trying to do, or am I too slow, too fast?
It's good for me. It's okay. Fine for me.
Perfect. Okay, I'm making it as G flat file. It is the flat file itself, and then I would make it one more as file path. In future, I'm not going to define one by one all these global variables. I will put a template there where it will have everything. But why am I trying to do right now is, you are developers. You have to do it this when you when you get into a job, right? So I'm trying to simulate the same thing what you have to do in your real job. So flat file name, instead I want to name it as file name, so that you know the same global variable can be used for Excel files also. So file name and file path. These are the global variables I have given. So now I go here. This is the location data flow I have. So you go into the definition here. Instead of giving the path directly, I'm going to give a global variable. And instead of giving a file name, I'm going to give there is someone breathing hard. So is everything all right? Okay, we saved it now. Arvind, now you'll see it. Now they are dynamic. There is no file name, there is no path here. I have given global variables. So where do I set it? At the runtime, an administrator can set up the path. You see here, if you go into global variables, and in the flat file name, you can say, if I remember correctly, it is a name loc.txt, and the path is, I can't remember the path really. So let me go get it from here. So this is how you make it dynamic. So this is at the runtime, you can give any file path or any file name. Unless the structure is the same, it won't fail. If you have a different structure,
there, right?
What is it?
You need to give name location star.txt, right?
Okay. I will tell you. What I am trying to do is one at a time. I am giving a single file here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can give multiple. There is no harm, but they have to be in single quotes, because anything which is a character you have to put in single quotes. I don't know if it copied properly or not. I have hard time here a little bit. Still we are okay. Oh, it just went away, completely taken away. Okay. So I just given the path here, and I say okay. First I am giving it for one file. It can run for several files if you just give it as a star. So I'm trying to show you the difference, that there is no magic. You can make it all dynamic however you want. Now you have only 9 records because we have given only one file. So you try to go and do it for 4 files at a time. That should work. So that you take it as an exercise, guys. Any questions so far on the flat file?
So can I schedule like a polling? Like is polling feature available?
What is polling?
Like I want to go and pick the file. Let's say they drop it, sometime in the evening, but I don't want to pick it up at that time. But I want to go and pick it up like an hour later. Like can I do like?
Yeah, that is an FTP custom program you will have to write yourself. You can do a scheduling. You can write anything in the script. You can ask it to wait until it reaches a certain time, or you can schedule the job to go at that particular time and then get it. You have several functions that you can use on the file formats. It can go and check if the file exists, only then it can execute the job. If you want, you can just go and search for these functions. There are several of them.
Okay. The next question is, when they place multiple files, okay, can I tell like this file has to be picked first, and then can I put a sequence there?
Obviously, yes. You can put a while loop. You give it the name the way you want. If you order it saying timestamp wise, take the first one, then go with the later. Yes, you can do it. All customization you can do it if you have time and time and requirement. First thing is requirement. If your requirement is there, yes, you can certainly do that. Anyway, you can program the tool. Okay, it is all how you can write a script. If you write the script properly, yes, you can do that.
Okay. So within a job, you have a workflow, okay? And there you are doing 2 conversions.
Okay.
So how do you recommend like designing a job? Like let's say I go into a project, okay? I've been told to do like 10 conversions, okay? I can also put them in one job, right? I mean,
you can,
why do we?
But let us not use the term conversion. Conversion is the entire project.
Okay.
So you can call it as extraction itself. You are being asked to extract data from more than one table. It's very technical term. Conversion is, at 50,000 feet high. The entire project will be named as the conversion project, and so I'm just being a little skeptical there. Okay. So you can define as you want. In general, the recommendation from data services is, do not try to have 100 different jobs. Try to minimize the number of jobs so that you can maintain them properly. So it is as simple as, if you are moving from your home to other home, maintaining 3 parallel U-hauls is tough. Instead, if you have defined everything and used 1 or 2 U-hauls, would have been better instead of using 10 of them. It is the same way here. You can organize depending upon how many sources you have. For each source, you can have a separate job. Or you say, I will do the dimensional extract at a time and come to the fact table extract, that is other design. And if you say in the dimensions itself, there is a sequence of things that has to happen. The first set of dimensions will happen at 12 o'clock in the night, whereas the second set of dimensions has to come in at 2 o'clock in the night. Let us say availability of the source system. You define a separate job for that, separate job for the 2 o'clock. That is the way it should be. That is the ETL architect's job. He has to define and design properly in an organization, looking at their requirement. It is not going to be standard. No, you have to have only 10 jobs. There is no rule. You can have 100 jobs. Or you can have 2 jobs which can have all your data flows inside them. It is how you organize, depending upon how many developers you have, what is the time frame you have, are you using a third-party scheduler or your own scheduler, are there dependencies on the source or legacy system. There are several things you have to take into consideration before doing that.
Okay, so let's say like I develop a job and another person develops another job, okay? Once they develop, like, can we group them together?
Obviously. Any workflow, any data flow, any job is a reusable component. So let me simulate one simple example here. That is a good question to ask. Let us just work together and then get it done. So his question is, it is a very good question. He's asking, 2 developers have worked on different jobs. How do I merge them? Or can I merge them is the question. And the answer is yes, you can merge them into one job. And how to merge them, I will show you. Before that, I would like to mention the workflows and data flows are reusable. You can use the same workflow in 10 different jobs. You can use the same data flow in 10 different jobs. That is permitted. So we are going to do it now. And one other good thing, you have to understand data flows is the actual thing where the data transfer happens. Workflow is just a container. So you replicate this particular data flow and you can use for 10 different sources that has a similarity. Or you can have the parallel mappings within the same data flow. We will come to that. But let me answer his question. For example, now I have the central repository. I have a job here. Let me rename the data flow in a different way. For example, any one of you, do you have access to central repository? If at all you have, can you post one of your job? And how to post it, I will show you. Let me know if you have central repository access. Been highlighted here.
I do not have.
I do not have.
Okay, no worries. Then it means when the server got restarted, that one went off, but we will set it. We will set it and then we can do it together. But just to make it really simpler, let me define one other workflow very quickly. I'm replicating it. I am renaming it. This is just a sample. We are going to assume this particular legacy data 2 is being developed by a different person. So this doesn't come as part of the first job. He can send you only this workflow as an ATL file. You see here, I export this as an ATL file. He can send you this one as an ATL file. Then you all can move it into your own repository to embed it into your particular data flow. I'm going to export this and give you. You can import it as an ATL and do it into your job, then it is done. I mean, we can use the central repository, but not yet, because you have to be given proper instructions, or else we are going to mess up the central repository. And one situation is I have to flush the repository, then you would be at a bad space. that, oh, I worked on 10 jobs and you flushed out everything. So I have given the, oh, okay, does not contain the object. This is one of the problems with data services. We experienced it several times, but this is not that problem because I replicated only the workflow. I did not put the data flows under it, So hold on 1 second. There are data flows. It is more or less a saving issue. Let me save. Yeah. Now if I try to export, yeah, now I have the data flows. It is, I didn't save it, guys. Let me export to ATL and name it the same way. So I'm giving the password or the passphrase as clouds, CLOUDZ. Export it. Now you all have access to that. Go and get this particular workflow. I will show you how you can put it into your job. It is as simple as drag and drop into your job and it is there. You merged it. If you have already built a job, go to the same folder, tutorial files on the server. You will find my ATL file there, which I named it as workflow 100 underscore legacy underscore data underscore 2. If you want me to show, I can, but all of you know where it is. So import that, get into your job. All you have to do is it appears in your object library, drag and drop it here. It is done. You have merged another developer's code into your environment. And the best way is not the ATL files. The best way is central repository. But why I have to show even the ATL file way is not every organization maintains a central repository because they will have their own source tape like a VSS or a rational tool where you can maintain this versioning, where you can do an and check in and check out of the jobs. Everything is possible even without the central repository. At those places, the developers exchange the job into each other's repository using the ATL files. And there is one other way which I wanted to show you. You can ask your developer to log off from his repository, and I am exporting it to one of your repositories, guys. Let me see if it works. Export to the repository. So no repositories are associated with this user. Okay, no worries. Because we have the restriction, I did not show every repository to all of you. So it says like no repository is associated. Never mind. I will log off, log in as an administrator, and then I can do the same thing what I'm doing now. Hold on 1 second. I logged in as Clouds 2. Let me log in as administrator, and I have a better access there. Because I mean, in an organization, they can set it up in a little bit different manner that you can log into any other's repository, but it is not recommended. So they will restrict you. You have read-only permissions to rest of the repositories because you don't want. I mean, if someone is angry with you, he can screw up your repository, which means he's screwing up your job itself. So somehow the data services didn't come up again. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we have 5, 3, 4, 9, 7 running. So rest of you guys, I don't know, you have trouble logging into data services, please let me know, or else you will not be able to practice much. I mean, you can practice it later, but still you need to have access, right? That is the most important point. I'm trying to log in as administrator. So now I have access to any repository because I logged in as administrator. So you don't see the same thing because you are not given admin rights. So you can export the job from one repository to other repository, but I don't recommend that way because if your colleague is using the same name as you are using, it will override his code. So we put into place the proper naming conventions. Those are very useful. When you get into an enterprise, you need to have these naming conventions properly defined. That is the purpose of having a framework, which I will also show you. How we define naming conventions, how we maintain these jobs, everything will be covered, no worries. So now if you wanted to export into central, let me see if it allows, if it allows me to export into any other repository. Let me see that. Okay, it allows me. So who wants this workflow, guys? You have to log off from the repository and log in back.
I can do that.
What is your repository number?
9.
9. Okay. I am exporting directly this particular workflow to repository 9. And if you are already logged off, let me know. I just click next and it is gone to your repository. Okay. So it says the following users are currently logged out of the target repository.
Yeah, I'm good. Turn it off.
Okay. So you can even, you see here, you can filter. If you don't want certain things, you can filter and then move it into the target repository. But now I'm doing it by default.
I logged off.
Okay, no worries. You should see the job now, this particular workflow now, if you log in back into your own repository.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Sure. So that is how we exchange jobs. 3 ways. One is ATL file, other is direct export to the repository, third one is the central repository. The recommended way is the central repository, which is a little advanced and we will see it a little later. So any questions on flat file as a source, guys? Because we are going to jump into more transforms today.
Should we take a break, Ganapati?
No, you can't. Yeah, we'll have a quick short break and then catch up in another 10 minutes, guys, because today it is not a real long session. I wanted to make use of time. Let us be productive. It's 8:20. Please come back at 8:30. Thank you.